2009-0990. Copy of the most recent independent audit, a schedule of planned revenues and expenses for the entire organization for the current year and the proposed year, specifically identifying all sources of revenue for both periods. A copy of the most recent financial statement, list of all affiliated organizations, including federal tax ID, copy of purchasing policy and procedures, and any financial policies and procedures. Now, if a 501(c) come walking in the door today and said, I want you to give me $40,000 for whatever purpose, yeah, I can pretty much see this. The problem I'm having is the four organizations that we have asked to provide us information, two of which we have not asked for information, one of which indicated to us that it was very burdensome to provide all this information, and that organization provides a service that we approached them about. The fourth, human-triad partnership, in my talk with the Vice President of the Administration, he indicated to me that one, they did not have the staff to go through and do this, and he also said we are the only municipality, county, or state, or federal that requires this. And his question was, do we really need all this? And our question now, because it's in our policy, is what I reckon we do. And when I talked with Dana about this, I think she said that and correct me if I'm wrong, mandatory information that the 501(c)s have to give are the 990 and the audits. Is that basically what you said?
Yes.
990 form and the audit. Of course, she also said that should a 501(c) fail to provide this, that's their pleasure. But we can also fail to, we don't have to pay provide the funds.
Yeah, in terms of the other items that were requested, yes.
So my question is, I feel like we are not being even-handed with this. This is okay. This is okay to make sure that people that come before us are legitimate, that we're good with what funds that they are asking for. But this is not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with companies that are 501(c) that we have approached to provide us a service or for whatever reason. And I feel this is a little bit strong-handed, and I would like to ask the council to consider doing an amendment or changing this policy for 501(c)s that we approach to allow for the 990 and all. And I'll open it up for discussion from there.
I think it's critical when you provide your own personal check for this market to be different. But this is other people's money that we're spending. And I don't think you can ask too many questions with what's going on with nonprofits, with what you see in the newspapers every day regarding nonprofits. I don't think there are too many questions you can ask before you expend public funds. Senior resources, I can see where maybe some kind of exception can be carved out because of what they do. The others, you have to know who was at the meetings for the minutes for the purposes of a quorum. You have to know that quorums are conducting business and not just one or two people making up the budget or the financial statements. There's just too much that I was on the board of directors of a nonprofit for 8 years. I know what can go wrong. And when I was comprising the CBO, and I did the majority of it, I was looking at what could go wrong with spending homeowner association money, other people's money, when I was comprising this form. I know what can go wrong. I know what's out there. And to protect the public money, I do think that this should not be changed. It should stay as restricted as it is.
My problem is that this is probably the 5th or 6th time we've revisited this. We've discussed it and we voted on it, and it seems to me we spend an awful lot of time on things and vote on them and then change our minds or change. If we discussed it this many times and we voted on it, why would we want to change it now?
Because we now see that there are problems with it. We are talking, we have never required the North Carolina League of Municipalities to provide this information. We have never provided the Piedmont Triad Council of Government, both of which is 501(c), to provide this information.
But we should.
Well,
Because we never have, doesn't mean we should.
Well, they're going to tell us where to get all of it, because nobody asked for this information. And it's what the PTP guy says, nobody goes into such detail.
Well, that's odd, because I gathered this from other cities and counties throughout the country. This is boilerplate put together from other governments
Well,
throughout the
I'm just
country.
talking about the 4 agencies that we're dealing with here. I'm not,
Well, you don't have to belong to the league, and you don't have to belong to PTCOG.
And those, and let's clarify, yeah, those.
Back up a second. The PCOG is a quasi-judicial, quasi-governmental agency. So it is membership-based, which we pay a membership fee to, and then we receive services from. So, and they are audited, and they're public body, essentially. The North Carolina League of Municipalities is a organization that does act as a lobbying arm on behalf of municipalities. Now, we've been members to them for a number of years, and I think almost every government city at least is a member of that or the county version.
And you're required to be a member if you're going to
Right. Plus
go
we
into
use
their
their
insurance pool.
We use their insurance pool for staff and 401k, so they provide us services through that. So I want to make sure that we're clear that NCLM and Piedmont Triad Council of Governments are not CBO funding type situations where we're funding them for purpose.
But they're still nonprofits. Nonprofits affect every taxpayer in this country. Not just the citizens of Summerfield, they affect every taxpayer in this country. And when we ask for documents in order to give them money for whatever service, then it should be provided.
But let me clarify that we have developed a community-based organization policy here.
Right.
And the intent of the community-based organization policy was, and the intent of, when you read the documentation regarding this, is if the government, being the town of Summerfield, chooses to provide funding to another organization that is providing a service that you don't want to provide. You don't have the staffing, you don't have the time, whatever, and you choose not to provide it, that you're providing funding to another organization for that service. That's the intent of the community-based organization. So that's a little different than NCLM and PCOG, because they're providing services to us, not necessarily the community. So there's a difference, and here we've developed a community-based organization policy for us giving money to somebody to provide a service that we're not going to provide. So I want to clarify the 2 of those. We're talking about 2 separate things, and if we choose to go the other route, we need to change our policy, the name of our policy, and so forth, which I'm not suggesting. So, but let me just clarify that. That's a whole nother policy separate from what we have, so.
The thing of it is, once they fill the thing out one time, that's it. I mean, they could just copy it every year, pretty much. You just add minutes or something, but I don't see it as a long-term issue, maybe at first time.
Well, I still think that we are asking them, we are going to them to provide the service, to become this membership, and as long as they provide the minimum of audit and 990, I just don't feel that we should require these 2 to do this. It's costing us $1,000 for one, and
If we choose.
If we choose.
If we choose that route.
But it's in the budget.
But that was one discussion. Just because we approved it didn't mean we were going to pay. We have to make that decision. That was part of this process tonight. I wanted to bring that up, that if you choose that option.
Right.
Because that's a $1,000 option that I personally do not think that we should pay for. But we'll get into that discussion.
Well,